Hello and welcome. You're watching We the People. I'm Sarah Jacob. A brazen murder caught on camera. Two accused shot at point-blank range while they were in the custody of the police. A cold-blooded murder that has left a trail of unanswered questions. Will heads roll in the UP police? Will anyone be held accountable? Extrajudicial killings are not a new phenomena in India. There have been numerous instances of encounters in states from Maharashtra to Punjab, convenient killings of so-called Naxalites and dreaded criminals in custody. And while the Adityanath government has a horribly blood-stained record when it comes to extrajudicial killings in the past, the nature of yesterday's killing is different than anything India has seen before, given the high profile of the victim, given the fact that he repeatedly claimed that the UP government would have him killed off, and given the fact that both he and his son were killed within 2 days of each other in the custody of the UP police. What does this say about us as a country? What does this say about us as a society? India's legal system assures every individual, every citizen of a trial before they can be labelled guilty of a criminal act or not. In any civilized democratic society, you need a trial to establish guilt or innocence. There are legal provisions in place to protect the fundamental human rights of every Indian citizen. Tonight on We the People, we're asking, what do these extrajudicial killings do to these rights? What does this mean for us as a society? Have we lost faith in our justice system? Can extrajudicial killings exist in a society of laws? All right, let's just introduce some of our guests on We the People tonight. We have Justice B.A. Khan, former Chief Justice of the Jammu and Kashmir High Court, a former President of the SARC Law India, Vrinda Grover, Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court, a human rights activist, Ashwini Dubey, Advocate in the Supreme Court. We'll also have Prakash Singh, former DGP of UP, and Sallabh Mani Tripathi, a former media advisor to the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Chief Minister Adityanath, an MLA and spokesperson of the BJP in UP, Ghanshyam Tiwari, also joining us. But I want to go across first to Vrinda Grover then. Vrinda, you know, there are already some BJP leaders who have have found ways to justify these killings, and there will be some across the country who will no doubt celebrate this death. But why is it important? If you could just set the tone. Could you simplify this for the public as they try to figure out how they should react to this? When you have a chief minister who has in the past worn this record, bloodstained record that they have as a badge of honor, how should the public react? Put this into perspective. Why is this important?
Sarah, I think we are at a very important juncture in this country. We are a constitutional republic. The Constitution, and we just celebrated Ambedkar Jayanti. The Constitution codifies and guarantees and affirms rights of citizens and persons, as well as places checks on the power of the state. And this is very important in any democracy. The police acts under the executive. Crime is a problem. A person may well be a mafia don, a person may well be a murderer, a person may well be a criminal. There is a system in place, a legal system, a criminal justice system, and that is what we call that we will adhere to the rule of law. Yeah. If somebody has committed a crime, the legal process should then ensure that the person is punished, convicted, sentenced, etc. What we are seeing here is that the political leadership, and it's not happened for the first time in this country, the political leadership and repeatedly the police leadership of this country has promoted and propagated departure from the rule of law and capture of power and arbitrary use of power, and projected it for people that, oh, we are doing this in your interest. We are getting rid of crime. That is not actually what is happening. What is happening is that the state is taking over and deciding who will live and who will die.
Yeah.
And that is where the danger lies, and is prohibited by the Constitution, is blasphemous by the law, and courts are being told, we are taking care of this, you deal with other matters, and actually it is a direct attack on the very different organs of the state which have to function together, and the citizens will then live at the mercy of the whims and caprice of the political party then in power. And never has crime, and there is a record in this country, we know what happened in Maharashtra with mafia dons, crime has never ever gone down through these practices. This is not a deterrent, this is simply a way of complete abuse and aggravating all power to itself that the political executive in collusion with the police is today doing.
All right. Dr. Salamani Tripathi, in what happens when you just don't have a rule of the law? We become a banana republic. We have 183 people who have been killed in encounters in the UP government's Chief Minister Adityanath's tenure, that is from 2017 to 2023. The BJP uses these encounters in as a major campaign plank. You have trigger-happy methods of the UP police. What you've delivered is actually the jungle Raj and Gunda Raj that you claim that you're going to remove.
देखिए, जो बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग होते हैं जो बड़े बड़े घरों में रहते हैं, बड़ी बड़ी गाड़ियों में घूमते हैं, जिनके लिए पुलिस का एक कांस्टेबल एक अदना सा कर्मचारी होता है, पुलिस का एक दरोगा एक बहुत छोटा सा मुलाजिम होता है, उनको ये बात दरअसल समझ में नहीं आएगी। रूल ऑफ लॉ का मतलब ये नहीं होता कि एक माफिया, एक अपराधी किसी पुलिस वाले पर गोली चलाए और जो पुलिस वाला है वो अपनी जान बचाता रहे और या मरता रहे और वो इंतजार करता रहे कि ठीक है हम तो शहीद हो गए, कल को इस माफिया को कोर्ट से सजा मिलेगी तब हम देखेंगे, उसके परिवार वाले इंतजार करते रहें। ये नहीं होता। रूल ऑफ लॉ का मतलब ये कि आपको डिफेंस, प्राइवेट डिफेंस का सबको अधिकार है, आपको भी है, मुझे भी है, यहाँ जो लोग बैठ के ज्ञान दे रहे हैं उनको भी है और एक पुलिस वाले को भी है। अगर कोई अपराधी पुलिस पर गोली चलाता है तो उत्तर प्रदेश में योगी आदित्यनाथ जी की सरकार ने पुलिस को अधिकार दिया है कि हाँ आप गोली
कि 183 cases when they are not able to even defend themselves, somehow always the accused who is in handcuffs ends up being killed. Just as we saw yesterday, you have an accused, they are handcuffed, there are at least 7 that we could see UP police officers flanking them on both sides, yet those 2 are dead and everybody else is untouched.
देखिए, मुझे लगता है कि आपने मुझसे पहले की जो पैनलिस्ट को जितना मौका दिया, मुझे आप आधा ही मौका दे देंगी बिना इंटरप्ट किया। आपने बहुत तेजी से इंटरप्ट मुझे किया, उनको नहीं किया था।
सर, आप टाइम
मैं ये कह रहा था कि पुलिस वाले को भी अपनी जान बचाने का अधिकार।
आपके ओन टाइम वेस्ट कर रहे हो।
नहीं, क्यों? आप थोड़े तय करेंगे, आप नहीं तय करेंगे मुझे क्या बोलना है, आप मुझे तय नहीं करेंगे मुझे क्या बोलना है, या आप नैरेटिव सेट करेंगे। एक पुलिस वाले को अधिकार नहीं कि उस पर गोली चल रही तो अपनी जान बचाने की कोशिश करे, क्यों नहीं करेगा? अगर उसके पास हथियार दिए गए हैं, अगर पुलिस महकमे ने उसको पिस्तौल दी है तो वो अपनी जान बचाने के लिए अगर अपराधी उस पर गोली चला रहा है तो वो भी गोली चलाएगा, क्यों नहीं चलाएगा? इसको आप बैठ के जंगल राज न जाने क्या क्या बताते हैं, ये आपका नैरेटिव हो सकता है, क्योंकि बड़े बड़े घरों में और बड़े बड़े स्टूडियो में बैठने वाले लोग इस दर्द को नहीं समझते कि एक गरीब परिवार से, किसान परिवार से आने वाला एक किसान का बेटा जो पुलिस का कांस्टेबल होता है किन परिस्थितियों में इन माफियाओं से जूझता है। मुझे तो बड़ी हैरानी होती है कि मानवाधिकार में आप किसकी बात करते हैं? उस अतीक अहमद के मानवाधिकार की जिसके खिलाफ 150 से ज्यादा मुकदमे हैं, जिसने न जाने कितने लोगों की मांग उजाड़ी, न जाने कितने लोगों का सुहाग उजाड़ा, उसका मानवाधिकार है। लेकिन उत्तर प्रदेश के गरीब आदमी का मानवाधिकार नहीं है, जिन लोगों की हत्याएं उसने की उनका मानवाधिकार नहीं है, उनके मानवाधिकार की भी चिंता करिए। केवल बड़े बड़े स्टूडियो में, बड़े बड़े घरों में बैठ के ये ज्ञान मत दीजिए। उत्तर प्रदेश में रूल ऑफ लॉ है और इसीलिए मैं चुनौती देता हूं, कोई माफिया
deliver on the rule of the law, they have no faith in the system, in the law, and they have to resort to this shortcut version of providing justice. But Vrinda Grover, please respond.
No, this is not shortcut. ये shortcut नहीं है.
Please respond. Let Vrinda respond now.
ये shortcut नहीं है. ये कानूनी
let
अधिकार
Vrinda
है.
respond. You've had 2 questions.
ये कानूनी अधिकार है.
Let Vrinda respond.
shortcut मत बताइए.
I am going to speak on the law. I will speak on the law.
Down. He needs to allow other panelists to speak.
Thank you, sir. I will speak on the law, and the size of my house may not come in the way, which actually you have no clue about. What does the law say? The law says everybody has a right to self-defense. Whether a policeman or an ordinary citizen, a civilian also has exactly the same right of self-defense under the CRPC and IPC as any policeman does. What does the law say? If there is an encounter, this is the PUCL judgment of 2014 of the Supreme Court of India. as well as guidelines laid down by the National Human Rights Commission. Now, I hope we will not comment on the Supreme Court in the tone that I was commented upon. What does it say? If there is an encounter killing, lodge an FIR. Put an FIR under section 302 of the IPC for murder, investigate into the police team, let the trial be held, whether it is in self-defense or not, whether the force used is excessive and disproportionate, will be decided by who? A court of law. What is being actually hidden under the garb of we are looking after the poor, we are doing this for the ordinary, from the farmer to the soldier. We've just heard what was done for the soldiers. Aircrafts were not provided. What is being done here is that power is being taken into the hands of a few, and from a constitutional republic, we will become a despotic. Who will decide? हिंदी में कहते हैं ना, जिसकी लाठी उसकी भैंस. इस देश में अदालत है, अदालत तय करेगी. पुलिस वाले are not to be sacrificed. Nobody's life should go in waste.
मैं जवाब देना चाहूंगा.
All right, hold on. I want to bring in Justice Khan first, please. I want to expand this debate.
Not have faith in the legal system.
Okay. Justice Khan,
this is the question confronting us today. Why does
आपने
the
कितना टाइम उनको दिया?
Justice Khan, I want to bring in Justice Khan.
The legal system.
All right, Vrinda, hold on. Justice B.A. Khan, the most fundamental promise in a constitutional democracy is the assurance of due process to all, the promise of protection for all, even against vigilante justice, even that which is perpetrated by the police, perpetrated by the state. In this case, sir, the Supreme Court refused to entertain Atiq Ahmed's plea seeking protection from death threats. The judges said that he was in the custody of the UP police and that the state machinery would protect him. Ironic in hindsight.
Well, Sarah, first let me point out something wrong with your title. It says instant justice. Justice can never be instant. The soul of the justice is that you give a right of defense to the accused, hear him out, allow him to prove his innocence. These are extrajudicial killings. These are not instant cases of instant justice. So the very title I find some fault with.
Vigilante justice, extrajudicial killings, custodial killings.
Yeah. Second, I have practiced the rule of law all my life, and my belief still is, and it's getting shaky, may I tell you, my belief still is that we are a constitutional democracy. Rule of law is the cornerstone of our system. Rule of law means, for common understanding, that everybody is equal before law, whether he is Prime Minister, whether he is a dacoit, whether he is a gangster, whether he is whatever. Second thing, Sarah, I want to point out for the understanding of learned panelists, that under our system, even an accused has a bundle of rights. And those rights start from the time of his arrest. Prakash is there, he will know it better. And why is it that Article 22 provides that he must be provided before a magistrate produced before a magistrate within 24 hours? And then magistrate is obliged to apply his mind and see whether there are grounds of arrest, whether there is a material for remanding him to police custody or judicial custody, whatever. Sarah, let me point it out to you that has become a routine. Our magistrates pass remand orders which are given to them by the SHOs, punishment inspectors. That's a sorry state of affairs, and that's a different thing. But what I'm trying to point out is that once you put an accused on a remand, a magistrate, he is in the magistrate's custody. And magistrate is responsible for his life. Magistrate is responsible for his soul. Magistrate
for his security and safety.
For his safety.
But and in this case, all right, I want to bring in...
Let me complete. So is the enforcement agency. Enforcement agency would be jail people. Enforcement agency would be those people who are taking him wherever. Now, if he is in the custody, then he is to be protected. Now, sufficient, if he was to be taken to the hospital, certain questions arise. First, why was he to be taken to the hospital? Second, Why was a media conference? He is a high-risk under trial prisoner. And you say he's a gangster, and you say he has killed 100 people. May have. How are you presenting him? He has not come out with some victory from the jail. How are you presenting him to a media conference?
There are many unanswered questions. Let's pull up some of those questions. Let's ask that to Prakash Singh, former DGP of UP. Is the UP police here incompetent? Or are they complicit? Because they were responsible for the security of these two persons, and no action has been taken against the cops so far. The UP police has come under the scanner for this brazen on-camera murder. They are tight-lipped. Let's bring up those questions. There are some unanswered questions that are just blatant. There are huge loopholes over here. Why were these men being taken for a health checkup at 10 o'clock at night, for example? Why were there only a handful of policemen on security duty? Why were these two brothers, did the police do enough after the first shot was fired? How do men carrying arms get so close to a heavily protected Atiq? Why was this security reduced from 100 cops to 20 cops? Why was the car ferrying Atiq Ahmed stopped at the gate of the hospital? Why did the police not even fire a single shot? Are they incompetent or were they complicit?
I've heard your questionnaire and I've also heard the options that you are giving me. I think the options are not very fair. I think we have to judge this incident in its isolation, because if you want to cover the entire spectrum, then we'll be running into all kinds of controversies and difficulties, and I think there'll be no agreement and endless discussion. Okay. Let us restrict ourselves to this incident. There are different layers in this incident, and each one has to be taken separately. We are talking about rule of law. There is no disputing that rule of law has to be upheld, and I was rather disappointed to hear one distinguished speaker saying that the police leadership of this country does not want the rule of law and they want the rule of law to be flouted, this, that. That is not the case. I mean, please don't make such general observations. There are people, and we have been fighting for police reforms in this country, and unfortunately, none of the state governments have shown inclination to implement police reforms, and the central government has also not shown any enthusiasm. The kind of support which we expected from different segments of society, that has also not been forthcoming, and people are generally happy, or you can say unconcerned, about the way things are, and they think the present let the existing system continue. Yeah. The existing system will never deliver, will never be fair and just to the people. Let me be very clear about this. It will never be fair and just to the people. And if you expect the police to really rise up to your expectations that they should be doing this, they should be doing that, that also they will never be able to. I have, in my public speeches, in my appearances on TV, said more than once कि पुलिस विभाग आज खोखला हो गया है. जैसे तैसे वो काम कर रहा है और थोड़ा बहुत डिलीवर कर रहा है, पर जितना काम करना चाहिए वो नहीं कर पा रहा है. So, see, that is the ground level situation. So let us not indulge in generalizations without going to the root of the problem. Secondly, I mean, another layer of the problem is the Babina encounter in Jhansi, where the son and Ghulam were killed. Yes. Now, that encounter, let us not prejudge. I find a whole lot of journalists coming up that this was a extrajudicial killing. Look, let us first start with, let us give the benefit of doubt to police, which had been chasing them for almost more than 3 weeks. And let us say that this was an encounter, which means an engagement or an incident where there is exchange of fire from both sides. Now, there would be a mandatory inquiry, and Brinda rightly said there are NHRC guidelines, there are Supreme Court guidelines. Yeah. There would be a proper inquiry. And if as a result of the inquiry it is found that no, it was a false encounter, I have no doubts that they will be punished. I have no doubts that they will be punished. Okay. So let me complete, please. This is the second layer of the incident that we have to talk about. The third layer is, what has happened to Atiq and his brother. That most unfortunate, and it shows dereliction in duty, negligence in duty, and slackness in securing the lives of these two accused. They may be high voltage criminals, but they had every right to be protected by the police, and police failed in the discharge of its duty. I concede this point. without any qualification.
Okay.
Now, what is the option before the government? Now, this has happened. It has happened. Unfortunately, it should not have happened, and it reflects on the police. Right. Now, what is the next step which the government should be taking? I think the state government has very rightly ordered a judicial inquiry, which is the highest level of inquiry in this country. Yes, without any pressure from anybody and without waiting for it.
All right. So you seem to believe that there will be, someone will be held accountable, heads will roll. But I just want to point to the Hyderabad vet rape and murder case. So the NHRC took cognizance. The Supreme Court set up a panel that looked into this matter, over 300 pages.
If I can just mention, I appear in that case before the Telangana High Court.
Yes.
And Prakash Singh, why did I feel compelled to make this statement? The senior-most police officers of Hyderabad applauded the Disha encounter. In court today,
but my point, Vrinda Grover here.
Telangana State Police Officers Association.
I would like to reply to that.
My point here, 1 second, Mr. Singh. I need to bring in the other panelists. The point here I'm just trying to make is, even though the Supreme Court Commission looked into this matter, came out with them saying that this was an encounter and the police should be held accountable, nothing has happened since
FIR
then,
yet.
No, sorry, you're
no FIR has been filed. Hold on. I want to bring in another lawyer that we have on the panel.
No, I'll have to correct you. You'll have to correct you.
Go ahead.
You're making a wrong statement.
Go ahead.
You see, after the Supreme Court inquiry into the matter, murder case was to be registered, which I presume under the orders of the Supreme Court would have been registered.
It has not been registered, sir. I appear in the High Court. The police is saying it should not be registered. This is a fact. You can look up the High Court orders.
It hasn't been registered yet. All right, Ashwini Dubey, I just want to bring you in over here. You have the UP police shooting to kill, as one would say, in cold blood again and again. Legal impunity, political impunity. So far, the police, no word about whether any action will be taken against the police who were supposed to protect these two men yesterday. What does it mean when you can have encounter killings like this, one after the other? Does it mean there is no faith in the law? When you have a state government celebrating a police killing in cold blood, are we not thumbing its nose at the court and corroding justice? Please respond as a lawyer.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me here. Sarah, rule of law is supreme. Every individual is guaranteed certain basic human rights and liberties, and at the same time, the individual expects that his rights are being respected. But Sarah, there are two things. Extrajudicial killings or unlawful killings cannot be justified that to if the government authority without the approval of the order of the court is doing this. But there are certain cases. We have to see why there is a judicial inquiry, where the magisterial inquiry and commissions are set up to ensure and look into that any encounter or extrajudicial killing has taken place that has not been at the behest of the state. There are cases in which these killings take place because of an actual encounter, that to prevent the accused from escaping. But there are also numerous cases where fake encounters take place having different agendas, where the police try to twist the facts of the case so that they cannot be subjected to questioning if such event occurs. There are 4 stages whenever any extrajudicial killing take place. The FIR is registered. Investigation of cases is conducted by the independent agencies like the CID and the magistrate, or granting of compensation if that is found to be a fake encounter, and also led to the conviction of the policeman, and this has happened in the past. But the police are not conferred with the right to take away the right of any person and not have a right to kill somebody. But in private defense, the same criminal law also gives right to policemen to use that under section 46 and 96 if the police people are not able that in self-defense. So, and if there is any use of force during the arrest of a person and that caused death, and that can be only justified if the person was accused of an offense for which punishment would be a life imprisonment or death. But we live in a country where a rule of law is prevalent, and if rule of law is prevalent, then the courts are the actual law-abiding institutions which award death punishment.
Then why do we have over 183 encounter cases that should have been dealt with at the courts in trials? Ghanshyam Tiwari, I want to bring in. No, let's bring in Ghanshyam Tiwari. It's 9:55. Ghanshyam Tiwari, please address. It's a sensitive issue, and address the point raised by the BJP spokesperson over here. The fact that those people who are being bumped off in these chilling encounters, are often history sheeters, right? Atiq Ahmed, as Sir points out, had around 100 cases lodged against him, including everything from murder, attempt to murder, kidnapping, extortion, you name it. And unfortunately, he represents what has become this notorious UP phenomena. You have the strongman politician, a gangster turned politician, who are patronized by the party in power. This man has been a former MP. Let's all remember that. Go ahead, Ghanshyam Tiwari, respond here.
Good evening, Sarah, to you, the viewers and fellow co-panelists. Three things are important in my view. One is the brazenness of this entire incident, where Maharaj Lavlesh Tiwari, as per his own Facebook profile, a Bajrang Dal worker, a district level in charge of Bajrang Dal, as per his multiple media reports, walks in. He's a rookie criminal. He had gone to jail to slap somebody, walks in, and his group fires 18 rounds, and there are 18 cops, they don't fire anything. Since the day this story of Atiq Ahmed and his transfer unfolded, BJP has set the propaganda, high voltage propaganda on this with media chasing and everything. And this propaganda has culminated into this sensational crime which appears by circumstances, by local people who interviewed in media right after the incident to be staged. When the local people are saying on channels that they saw the criminals walk in with police and walk out with police. So why would a government try to take this kind of blame that a killing of this nature is staged? It would take this kind of blame when it wants to take this kind of blame. When you have a chief minister who has a track record of crime as per his own affidavit that ranges from attempt to murder to several other crimes. When you have when you have a system where the chief minister has regularly said, ठोक देंगे, हर किसी को ठोक देंगे. When you have an ecosystem that celebrates ठोक देंगे to bulldozer, when you have a government that is unaccountable,
understood.
This is what leads to
running
this
out of time. Dr. Salabmani Tripathi, please respond 30 seconds.
देखिए, उस पार्टी से हम उम्मीद भी क्या कर सकते हैं जिसने अतीक अहमद जैसे एक बहुत बड़े माफिया को समाजवादी पार्टी से एमपी बनाकर भेजा हो, मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट बनाया इन्होंने. मुख्तार अंसारी जैसे माफिया को बहुजन समाज पार्टी, समाजवादी पार्टी, कांग्रेस आपस में होड़ मची रहती, कैसे खींचें? तो यहां उत्तर प्रदेश में रूल ऑफ लॉ है. आज माफिया उत्तर प्रदेश में आने से डरता है. ये हमारी पुलिस की मेहनत है, हमारे शासन की मेहनत है. आज माफिया बोलता है कि मुख्तार अंसारी कि हम पंजाब से उत्तर प्रदेश नहीं जाएंगे. आज अतीक अहमद बोलता था कि हम उत्तर प्रदेश नहीं आएंगे. आज मुकीम काला जैसा माफिया बोलता है हम उत्तर प्रदेश नहीं जाएंगे. तमाम सारे नोटोरियस क्रिमिनल उत्तर प्रदेश में हैं जिनके वकील ये कहते हैं कि आपको जमानत मिल गई, बोलते हैं हम जेल से बाहर नहीं आएंगे, हम जेल के भीतर ही रहना चाहते हैं. ये रूल ऑफ लॉ ही कहा जाता है. अगर आज 24 करोड़ की जनता उत्तर प्रदेश की इस बात को लेकर खुश है कि आज वो रात में 2 बजे भी सड़क पर निकलते हैं, कोई उनको छेड़ने वाला नहीं, परेशान करने वाला नहीं है. और आज माफिया अगर डरा हुआ है, माफिया घबराया हुआ है.
That's the narrative the BJP is spinning. But remember, Article 21 of our Constitution says no person can be deprived of his life or personal liberty except with procedure established by law. In other words, this means only a court of law can deliver justice, should deliver justice. The Constitution, our laws ensure justice for accused as well as victims. The task of the police is to carry out investigations. The court's task is to establish guilt or innocence and sentence accordingly. The police have the right to arrest the culprits. Only the courts have the right to convict them in a constitutional democracy. And we have to decide what kind of a country and democracy we want to live in. Thank you all for joining us on We the People.